Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Angela and I have a Let's Build for you today. We're at Coastal Cottage and we're working on a barn. So when I first unlocked Coastal Cottage, I did pretty much what everybody else did. I went and I unlocked it and I put up a settlement beacon and then I just left it because I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. Mostly because the house itself looked like crap. So I eventually came back, probably for some weird reason. I think it was while I was building my mechanist thing, actually. The cottage itself was like getting attacked and it was like, these people are very unhappy, and I was like, well crap, I gotta go save them. So I ended up coming back and there were 12 people and 2 brahmin here, and I'm not sure why. They were just like hanging out. The thing that makes me so mad about this game is that it feels so unrealistic to have people just show up at a settlement and they just don't build anything by themselves. Anyway, rant aside. So I ended up moving a bunch of people out, kind of rethinking about what I wanted to do with this place. After I finished my Jamaica Plain build, I had this kind of on the back burner here a little bit, and I decided that I was going to make this into sort of a farm. I know that there are a lot of farms in the Commonwealth, in a lot of builds, but I thought that this would fit as a farm, just because it kind of has that sort of, as I was rebuilding the house, it has sort of an old farmhousey kind of feel to it. So I just kind of decided to go with it. So as you can see here, I'm kind of putting in just the barn walls. A lot of them have holes in them because we're doing a patchwork barn, so I'm going to end up kind of like the way that I did the house, which you will see in the tour, obviously, later on, and you can probably see a little bit in the background as I'm moving around in here, but it definitely looks like it's been patched up. So I wanted it to kind of have the feeling of there was an existing structure and then someone else patched it, like legitimately built onto it or patched it or something, and then, you know, these people found it excuse me, these people found it and they added even more, and they just continued to just sort of work with what they had instead of just building an entirely new structure. So I thought that was an interesting idea, and I just kind of went with it, with the barn. And I also, because I had those 2 brahmin, they were just like wandering around my farm, or my area, I guess, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to get rid of you. So I built this a little bit specifically for the brahmin, because I wanted them out of my hair. And as you can see, I wanted to break up the structure a little bit, and make it not quite so boxy. It is still a very boxy structure because that's just by virtue of barn. As you can see there, I am terrible at building buildings. I take so long to build things. Even if I have an idea, I just kind of go, I don't know what I should do here, and so I just kind of put things wherever I think they would work, and then it just sort of, I move things around a lot. And so you can see I put the floor in, and I didn't show you guys that I put the floor in because we go back and replace part of the floor later. So I thought that repetition might be a little bit boring. Anyway, here I'm putting in some more windows and different walls. Taking a look at my work here. I've got this little, I guess, just a platform. Obviously the big barn doors are going to go over where that big open space is. You can see there on the right. So I wanted another place to kind of get in from the pasture because that part ends up being fenced off later on. So I added that in there, and this part was interesting. I had to cut some of these pieces out because I could not figure out what snapped to what first, because these barn pieces, if you've ever played around with them, they're so complicated because they snap to certain pieces only, and if you have those little triangle pieces there with the roof part on them, things don't snap to the top of them like they should unless you do them in a specific order. It's very frustrating, but I think I might have figured out how it works. So hopefully if I do any other future builds, Let's Build videos where I show you guys this stuff, hopefully it will not take me as long to record things because I will already know what's supposed to go where. So we're just kind of putting in the rest of the walls here, trying to pick walls that I haven't used right next to each other because I want to break up those patterns, but I'm also looking for walls that have, you know, some sort of interesting things like windows, and here's where I replaced these floors. I wanted this to kind of have a more open feeling, so it's going to get some of that mesh flooring, which I think works out pretty well. I like it. It definitely makes the place feel not quite so, this is one level and this is another level. So, there we go. Perfect. And I'd already put some fencing in there, but as I mentioned earlier, I am terrible with my build order. So I go back and I have to replace the fencing, so you'll watch that later. And here we go. Checking out the work here. Gonna replace this window with just a solid piece. There we go. And we're gonna check out what it looks like. Alright, so here we go. I've got the barn roof on, which took me forever and a day. And we're gonna go up and add in a little... What am I doing? I'm adding in... Oh, here we go. Yes, I'm adding in this piece here. And I have got to say, Place Anywhere, this is like the one mod that I wanted for PlayStation, and it seriously is a lifesaver because this piece in particular, I have no idea why it doesn't fit in. I don't know if I'm just doing the snapping wrong, like, I don't know, but I had this happen to me here and in the house, and having Place Anywhere, now that I figured out how to actually use it, is a lifesaver when it comes to stuff like this. So a million thanks to the creators of that, because seriously, it 100% best thing ever. Okay, so I lighten it up a little bit. There we go. It was getting a little dark. And then I put up in this part, the front part of this looked a little bit strange to me because it was flat, and so I ended up going in here and replacing the top part of this with sort of a pointed roof. You can see here, I'm trying to figure out which roof will fit best. There we go, and put in the rafter again. I love the way these rafters look because it just feels like a barn with the rafters in there like that. And here, I had some glitching going on with that window, and I knew that it was going to make me completely crazy, so I ended up just taking this wall out. I keep clearing my throat, I'm sorry. I've been sick the last few days. I've been trying to record this for a few days now, and my voice has finally come back enough to where I feel confident in what I sound like on a recording. So anyway, here we go, just adding in this bottom part, and boom, there we go. It's all good. Got to put this little thingy back in here, which had taken me a long time anyway, because of course it's a fence and it's of course Place Anywhere. So I get so fiddly with this, and I just... takes me a while. Okay, here we go. Putting it back in there. Boom. Nope. There we go. Okay. Alright, then we gotta put our barn doors in here. Doing those. And these barn doors, they're so weird. They snap in strange. I wanted there to be, obviously, one of them is a little bit more janky looking than the other. And we gotta put in the rest of our doors later on. There we go. Door number 1. And door number 2. You guys will see that it looks like my menu comes like right up. That's not exactly the case. It takes my menu so long to load, and I just cut that part out. So here we go. We're going to work on the inside of the barn now. I wanted there to be some stalls because I mentioned earlier that I was making this mostly for the brahmin. So I ended up going in and using these sort of half pieces and then the barn door kind of things for the stalls, which I thought worked out pretty well. And the stalls are very, very deep, but it actually kind of works out because the brahmin, if they're close to this gate that I put in there, if they're even relatively close to it, they will open it. So if you don't want them to actually open up the gate, then you kind of have to put them farther away from it. But for the most part, they stay in there. I've only had one instance where one of them teleported out of... Well, I've had a couple instances. One of them glitched through the wall, the back wall there, and he was trying to eat out of the other Brahmin's bathtub, which was not going to work because he had his own bathtub. So I had to walk him back through the wall after I took the wall apart. And then I fast traveled away and came back at one point, and one of the Brahmin was outside eating out of a tub in the pasture, which is good because that's why I have that there, you know, to sort of catch them as they may escape from their little thing. Also, yeah, essentially, I lost my train of thought there. I don't know what I was gonna say. So here we go, just slowly putting in. This is why it takes me forever to do things, because I just am so nitpicky with how things look. I didn't want them to scrape all over the ground, of course. And I'm so proud of how this turned out. I'm so pleased. In here I put in a little bit of a loft, partly because of how I want this settlement to come out. I thought this needed a loft, sort of as like a storage loft, or for other things. You will find out as I do the tour. I wanted there to have sort of little hiding places throughout this settlement, and there aren't a lot of places that are just sort of little nooks and crannies, but I put in little pieces, sort of going along with the idea of there is that underground cave that everyone sort of uses as like an underground bunker. So I ended up trying to kind of piece in my personal lore with this farm with that. So, and then here you can see this is where I'm going to change my mind again. I put in perfectly good, you know, wood stairs and stairs with some railings because I always fall off of things, but I decided, you know what, I don't like that. I think it looks dumb. So we're gonna just completely scrap that idea and put in the wood stairs, and I ended up putting a pallet in here actually, thanks to the Place Anywhere. But the pallet, funnily enough, I didn't realize until I was walking around later on, it was sticking through the wall. So I ended up fixing it before the final tour, so you guys didn't make fun of me too badly for that. But you can see here, I definitely just ignore it and just stick it through the wall. And there we go. Yep, right through the wall. It looks perfect. It's fine. I even look at it and everything. I don't even know what I was doing. So I line up my stairs and try to get them lined up here at least. There we go. So yeah, I've got this little kind of extra loft here that I wanted to use as sort of like a little bit of a hiding place, but I ended up doing something different with it instead. So we put some fencing on here and put in a little bit of, we put some support pillars in later on, which I cannot stress enough is one of the most important things I feel like when building. I know I'm probably not necessarily someone that would, you know, you would accept advice from, you know, because I can't build my buildings in the correct order, but I always try to put in support pillars. So here you go, we see now that I had to place anywhere all of that stuff, and I changed the time of day because it was getting really dark on you guys, but I had to put all of these in here by hand because of the walls down below. They just wouldn't snap together, obviously, so gotta put in some of these. And I tried to mix up the different fencing that I used, because, you know, you don't necessarily always have the same fencing, and I think it looks a little bit boring and repetitive if you have something, you know, constantly right next to each other, the same exact thing, unless you're going for that very clean, very I don't want to say minimalist. It's not really a minimalist thing. It's definitely just sort of like it feels very plain. So here we go, we're putting in some poles. This is where you guys see that I am absolutely ridiculous whenever it comes to building. I already put in some of the poles in there that snapped, and here I'm trying to glitch in some of the bottom part of the pole, and I realize, oh no, it's going all the way through the floor. So now I have to drag it up, but I can't just drag it up. I have to like completely rotate it because I can't see because of the little bottom part, the workshop, the HUD. There we go. Okay, here we go. Okay. And finally I get into a place where I think it will work out and I snap it into place. So it's not 100% perfect, but it's about as close as it's gonna get. So there you go. There's my process for building. Just a lot of finagling. And you don't see me do this because it was very repetitive, but I ended up putting a pole in there to support the pallet as well for the stairs. So, and putting in some more fencing. This is pretty much it. I think this is pretty close to the end here. The tour should be coming up really soon. Oh, nope, here we go. We're going to do some patching. So, this is the entire point of the tour, or the entire point of the build. So, this sort of technique that I'm using, I have really been having a lot of fun with it. So, I decided that I was going to do this with the house, the Coastal Cottage house, because it was so just destroyed. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to make it look as, like, slightly wrecked and gross as possible, but also while still keeping it livable. So I wanted the barn to have the same treatment. So the way that I did this is I sort of glitched things in using the Place Anywhere tool, and I wanted them to feel like, you know, they'd put boards maybe on the inside and then sort of boarded up the outside to kind of hold them in place, and not really good carpentry work, really. Just something that's going to be makeshift, something that's going to be quick, and that will, you know, make it look nice and also protect them. So you can see there I had the pallet sticking through the wall, so I had to go fix that. But I also used some fencing. So I used fencing in the barn, and I also used fencing in the house. So really, whenever you're doing this patchwork kind of thing, it's kind of just whatever you feel like matches the best, or whatever you feel like you're going for. So I was going for sort of a ramshackle look, and so I used a lot of wood pieces. But in the house, I also did use some of those wood fencing, like I'd used in Jamaica Plain, to separate the security area from the playground. So here's the tour. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I am not sure if my commentary helped, or if it didn't help, or if you even got this far. But if you did get this far, congratulations. Thank you very much for continuing to watch me ramble on about my building. I'm getting better slowly but surely. So I've added a little outhouse here because the house itself doesn't have bathrooms. And we're gonna go around and check out this patchwork. So I tried to keep it, you know, as realistic looking as possible, but I also wanted to make sure that I mixed up some of the pieces so it didn't feel like there were a lot of the same pieces just sort of patching things up. Okay, there's a piece sticking out at the top there. I went back and fixed that later on after I realized that I did that. But I've also got this fence here that I had to kind of glitch together. And I didn't think you guys would want to see that. It just took me so long to do. But I do have the footage, so if you guys would like to see that, let me know. I doubt you will. So on the inside, I wanted there to have sort of a mix of different things. So I tried to put some fishing stuff in here because it's right on the coast. But because it's a barn, I did want it to have sort of a traditional feeling of this is where animals live. So I do have some of that, and then I also have a workshop. So you'll see over there, actually on the left, I'll come back around and show you later in the tour, that is actually an armor workbench glitched into a cabinet. I can't take credit for that. That was my Smy's idea. I saw in, I think it was a Children of Adam build, I think, but I loved it, and so I borrowed it. It worked out really, really well, and I think it looks classy. And I've got my little ramp here. Those are just scaffolding, the scaffolding ramps kind of glitched into the ground there, and the cows, or the brahmin, walked up them just perfectly fine. So, you know, that works for sure. Up here, you know, is our hayloft. So I've got a little dog house here. I eventually want to put a dog in for the tour, the full tour. And Got some more hay because, you know, you gotta do that. It's storage, right? Some random stuff in there. An anchor. Not sure how they got that up there. I feel like that would have been a little bit ridiculous, but hey, it kind of goes with the theme, right? You know, got some barrels, some just essential storage areas here. I decided to put a rowboat up in here, and I thought that was really cool the way that this post over here kind of glitched on. It looks like it's pulling the fence along with it. I thought that was kind of cool looking. So, and then of course you got this little nook in here for storage, and it kind of goes along with a little bit of the lore that I've put in with this settlement, which you guys will find out in the actual full tour. That's pretty much the entire tour. I mean, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I went into it not knowing what I was even gonna do, but it turned out to be a nice little building. And really one of the only buildings in this settlement, and planning on making the settlement very small and cozy. Anyway, if you guys liked this video, give it a like, and if you would like to see more of my videos in the future, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.